Robert Morris, a Texas megachurch pastor who served as spiritual advisor to the current president, has been indicted on 5 criminal counts involving a child. This according to the Oklahoma Attorney General's office. Robert Morris, 63, who founded Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas, is charged with 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child. The abuse began in 1982 when Morris was 21 years old and his female victim, someone he's referred to many times as a young lady, well, she was just 12 years old at the time. Gateway Church is in Southlake, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and it's one of the largest megachurches in the United States. It's also mega MAGA. Here, let's check out this report from MSNBC.
One of the ways Donald Trump won the 2016 election was through the complete embrace of him by evangelicals, both the base and pastors and leaders in that movement. One of the most prominent is a pastor named Robert Morris. He founded a Texas megachurch in Southlake, Texas. Morris was also a spiritual advisor to Trump while he was in the White House. Here he is in the Rose Garden in 2020, just a few rows behind where then Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's family and the First Lady are about to sit. And here is Trump visiting Morris's church earlier that summer, giving his personal assessment of the man.
Okay, check this out. This is Morris's church. It's all Make America Great Again. It's all MAGA, MAGA, mega MAGA. The president is there. Who's getting worshipped here? Seriously, who could look at this and not think that's idolatry? To put this much effort and time and resources into the promotion of a political campaign, that's not a biblical mandate for the church. The Bible doesn't mandate anything like that. In fact, it's quite opposite.
So I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dolan. They're great people. Great people with a great reputation, I have to say that. Great reputation. And Gateway Church, the team has been incredible in hosting us. And I'd now like to ask Pastor Morris and Bishop Jackson to lead us in prayer.
Well, Robert Morris just resigned from his church following allegations that he sexually abused a child. In a statement to an evangelical news site, Morris said he was involved in an inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady. Those are his words. He didn't mention that the young lady in question was a 12-year-old girl. In his statement, Trump's one-time spiritual advisor admitted he continued to molest the child on, quote, several occasions over the next few years.
Wow. Pretty incredible. So this kind of comes back to the theme of this channel, which is to explore and expose the unholy alliances in this country between church and state, and primarily as it regards the church supporting a man for president who doesn't look anything like a godly or biblically qualified office holder. I've held for a long time that these pastors are more concerned with worldly power than they are with biblical mandates, which actually disqualifies them from being a pastor. They've shown themselves willing to compromise on every imaginable Christian doctrine and principle in order to support the current president. By the way, that MSNBC report is from June of last year, June of 2024. That's when he went public and announced that he had done this thing with a young lady. This week, in March 2025, he was indicted by the Oklahoma Attorney General's office. So that's what's going on there. That was just a report from when he first announced it. Anyway, you have to wonder, how do these guys live with themselves and the giant compromises they have to make in order to support all these sinful things that the president routinely does? And not only supporting it, but defending it and minimizing it, telling people it's not that bad, it doesn't really matter, he did that a long time ago, or it doesn't matter because he's going to make Christianity a powerful force in America that'll make people think twice before they dare trifle with it. I mean, it sounds great if you're not a church, but nothing could be further from the call God has put on the church than this. God hasn't called the church to restore the nation. He hasn't called the church to rule the nation. He hasn't called the church to wield political power. None of this reflects the biblical call of the church. So if you have pastors doing all these kinds of things that are not only not called for biblically, but are even prohibited, then what you end up with, in a lot of cases, are pastors who are frauds. And in this case, it was Morris, who was a predator and a fraud, because for 40 years he led people to believe he hadn't really done anything that bad. And when he finally got around to admitting it, he minimized it, just like they all do for the president when he does things like this. Now, get this. Robert Morris was on Trump's team of spiritual advisors in 2016, and he even reported having a Monday morning conference call with Trump every week for the 3 months leading up to the 2016 election. He also repeatedly urged members of his church to vote for Trump, and after the election, he thanked them profusely for doing so. So here you have a whole megachurch full of people sitting on a Saturday morning listening to a pastor extol the virtues of Trump rather than the virtues of Christ. Well, you say he could do both. Yeah, well, but actually not. You have to choose whom you're going to serve. And you can't serve God if you're going to compromise everything God teaches to support a man who regularly thumbs his nose at God. How can you do that? And when it comes to the question that's been on everybody's mind for the last 10 years, at least, how could a Christian pastor so publicly campaign for this man when pretty much everything about him opposes God? Now, I know these types of pastors would admit that, yes, he has all these flaws, and both candidates are really bad, but at least this one will make Christianity great again and give Christians political power, which is what they believe and what they really want. But no possible reading of Scripture could lead anyone to conclude that God needs political power to make Christianity great. And furthermore, no possible reading of Scripture could lead anyone to conclude that God even wants to make Christianity great in the worldly sense of making it a political force that everyone must reckon with. That's not how God works. We never see any examples in the Bible of God working through the political world to build his church. His church isn't built through politics. So I would submit it's even a sin to contemplate doing these things. Now, to answer the question, how is it that so many Christian pastors can publicly campaign for a man like this when so much about him opposes God? I would say it's because many of them, I'm just going to say it, aren't Christians at all. And others who are living in grievous sin. They desire worldly political power more than they desire to shepherd the souls in their churches to a closer communion with Christ. Instead of following biblical teachings on the church, they're copying the methods of the world. They're trying to build their church in a way the world builds a corporation. They use the exact same methods and means that any secular organization would use to increase its power. And anytime you have a church run by leaders who go against the Bible and what it teaches about building Christ's church, you're going to always have this kind of corruption. And as to the question how Robert Morris was able to enthusiastically support a man who had so many fatal flaws, well, apparently it's because Mr. Morris had the same or even worse flaws. So he just didn't see it as that big of a deal. I mean, I've done it, he's done it, so who cares? Well, in future episodes, I'd like to look at some more of the so-called spiritual advisors who've supported this president and how I believe they've made idols out of politics and patriotism and a big idol out of worldly power. I mean, it's so obvious to everyone that that's what this is all about. It's so obvious. Everyone sees it. Well, everyone except people in these churches, they're like the last to know. But I just want people to see that this isn't what Christ is all about. This isn't what biblical teachings are all about. This is what twisted men and women who idolize the things of this world more than they do God himself are doing, and that's what they're about. And that's it for today. Just a quick video. Just wanted to get that out there. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you again, and take care until next time.